low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Michelle, and for the next hour I will be reading from the March 8th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Cover story. Tune to 1976. 11 classic albums that hit number one on the charts 50 years ago by Peter Larson. In 1976, record shoppers knew what they liked. The Eagles and the Rolling Stones, Stevie Wonder and Bob Dylan, and they bought it in droves. Just 11 albums reached number one on the Billboard 200 album charts that year, with Peter Frampton and George Benson sneaking to the top between the better-known likes of Wings, Led Zeppelin, and Earth, Wind and Fire. The singles chart, meanwhile, was all over the place, with radio stations in transition and not sure where to land. Wings' Silly Love Songs was the overall top single of 76, but Rod Stewart's Tonight's the Night, Gonna Be Alright wasn't far behind. Disco was starting to make inroads on the airwaves with number one hits such as Johnny Taylor's Disco Lady and Walter Murphy's A Fifth of Beethoven. Soul and funk showed up strongly with Ohio Players' Love Roller Coaster and Wild Cherries Play That Funky Music. And 70s soft rock was hanging around too, with Barry Manilow's I Write the Songs, Chicago's If I Leave Me Now, and the Starlands vocal band's Afternoon Delight, also all reaching number one. But we're here for the albums, and now let's get to them. Number one, Chicago 9, Chicago's Greatest Hits, Chicago. Weeks at number one, 2 weeks. Gratitude, number two. Gratitude, Earth, Wind and Fire. Weeks at number one, 3 weeks. Desire, number three. Bob Dylan. Weeks at number one, 5. Number four, their greatest hits, 1971 to 1975, the Eagles. Weeks at number one, 5 weeks. Number 6, Frampton Comes Alive, Peter Frampton. Weeks at number one, 10. Number 7, Wings at the Speed of Sound. Weeks at number one, 7 from Wings. 6. This is 7. Presents, Led Zeppelin. Weeks at number one, 2. 8. Black and Blue, the Rolling Stones. Weeks at number one, 4. 8. 9. Brent Breezen, George Benson. Weeks at number one, 2. 10. Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac, weeks at number 1, 1. And number 11, Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder. Weeks at number 1, 11. Streaming. The Stream. Movies. For anyone catching up with this year's Oscar nominees, both Jafar Panahi's darkly comedic revenge film, It Was Just an Accident, and Keibler Mendoza Filvo's The Secret Agent are now streaming on Hulu. Panahi's Palm of the Winner is vying for the Best International Feature and the Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars on March 15th. The Secret Agent is up for Best Picture, Best Actor, Wagner Moore, Best International Feature, and Best Casting. Not to be confused with the David Michael directed Brad Pitt movie from 2017, Netflix has a new sci-fi action pick called War Machine, streaming on March 6th. This new film stars Alan Ritchson as an Army Ranger who, while on a training mission, comes across a deadly machine that relentlessly hunts him and his peers. Dennis Quaid also stars alongside Stephen James and Jai Courtney. A pickpocket, Ben Radcliffe, lands a job at a stately English manor and begins a romance with the lady of the house, played by Thomasine Mackenzie, in Fackham Hall, a slapstick spoof with a side of murder mystery that crosses Downton Abbey with Monty Python. Also starring Catherine Waterston, Damian Lewis, and Tom Felton. Fackham Hall begins streaming on HBO Max on March 6th, or if you'd just rather go with actual Downton Abbey, the third movie, the grand finale, is streaming March 7th on Netflix. He Hath Returned. Harry Styles is back with his fourth solo album, Kiss All the Time, Disco. Occasionally out, March 6th via Columbia Records. Details are sparse. He described the album as an audio representation of a long diary entry in Q&A with the stylist Harry Lambert in the Sunday Times Magazine. He's teased the release as a direct reflection of his time spent on the spotlight in Rome. The first taste arrived in the form of Aperture, a 5-minute slow burn built accelerating synths. Denzel Curry and the Scythe, made up of rapper Bakurier, Tia Karen, Key Nahaya, and Ferg, formerly known as ASAP Ferg, are back at it with Strictly for the Scythe. This dream team sounds like they're having more fun than anyone else in the game. This clear from the Teutonic track, The Scythe, with its bounce verses and chanting along chorus, available March 6th. Series. Scott Speedman's charisma is on full display in the new ABC series R.J. Decker. Speedman plays a former newspaper photographer, an ex-con who's decided to forge a new path as a private investigator. The show takes place in South Florida, where the cases came.
R.J. Decker, Speedman, is a disgraced newspaper photographer and ex-con who starts over as a private investigator in the colorful and crime-filled world of South Florida. This answer is from
Before Sherlock Holmes became the world's greatest detective, he studied at Oxford University. That's the backdrop for Prime Video's Young Sherlock, starring Hero Phineas Tiffin as the titular character. The series is executive produced and directed by Guy Ritchie and has all the qualities you would expect from a Ritchie production: action sequences, fast pacing, and smart dialogue. In this series, we also see Sherlock meet and befriend, of all people, James Moriarty, his biggest nemesis. All 8 episodes drop March 4th. Ted, the TV series, returns for a second season March 7th on Peacock. It's about the early days of the foul-mouthed teddy bear, played by Seth MacFarlane, and his best friend John, played by Max Burkholder, who is in high school. MacFarlane also is an executive producer, writer, director, and co-showrunner. Steve Carell stars in the new feel-good comedy Rooster for HBO. He plays a best-selling author who takes a job at a college where his daughter is also a professor and going through a tough time. The series is co-created by Bill Lawrence, Ted Lasso, Scrubs, and Shrinking. Phil Dunster, Danielle Dealwire, and John McKinley have main roles. It premieres March 8th on HBO Max. Movies. The Bride is a brash Frankenstein riff with a pulse by Jake Coyle. Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride is a big brash swing at a new The Bride of Frankenstein that struggles to cohere its many parts, but I'll say this for it: it's alive. Just months after Guillermo del Toro presented his lavish Frankenstein, Gyllenhaal, in her follow-up to her excellent 2021 directorial debut, The Lost Daughter, has set her sights on re-imaging 1935's The Bride of Frankenstein. The sequel starred Boris Karloff, and in the dual role of the bride and Mary Shelley, Elsa Lanchester. But in The Bride of Frankenstein, the shock-haired bride is only on screen for a handful of minutes at the end of the film. Gyllenhaal, who also wrote her film, has corrected the imbalance, refashioning the story from the bride's perspective and concocting a protagonist of unfiltered feminist fury. As played by Jessie Buckley, she is both a victim of male control and a reanimated avenging angel. Buckley is also, like Lanchester was, Shelley. In the movie's opening moments, Shelley speaks from the beyond directly to us. She has a story, she says, that's been stuck inside her, like a dream or a tumor. What I wanted to say, I couldn't, she says. I couldn't even think it. So Gyllenhaal has placed her story not in the early 19th century when Frankenstein was written, or in the present day, but in the 1930s, around when The Bride of Frankenstein came out. When Frankenstein's monster here, simply Frank, played by Christian Bale, stumbles along, he's been out lonely for not just a few years, but a century. But first we met Ida, a Chicago party girl who, out one night with a table full of gangsters, experiences a sudden eruption of raw honesty. The words blurt out of her uncontrollably. That quickly gets her killed. So the detectives on the pair's trail, played by Peter Scarsdale, Penelope Cruz, whose dynamic is another more real-life commentary on gender roles. The whole group comes together around the time Frank leads a song and dance routine to Puttin' on the Ritz, a nod to Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein in 1974. Led by a careening, foot-stamping Bale, the scene could well be about when the feeling takes hold of the bride being just a little too much. The tonal extremes and multi-layered theatrical of Maggie Gyllenhaal's movie are, by any measure, a lot. But I would argue such ambitious gambits are exactly the kind that a filmmaker in their sophomore's outing ought to be taking. The bride feels constantly like an act of plate spinning that's about to collapse. That is a fever dream fate, one that makes me eager to see what Gyllenhaal does next. You are listening to reading of articles and features from the March 8th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Movies. Lindu's to-do list includes Othello, Jamaica Memoir by Hilary Fox. Delroy Lindo is feeling the love and planning for the future. The actor says that his Oscar nomination for Sinners has shown him how many people are thrilled for him. That's been truly monumental, says the supporting actor nominee. I can't help but be impacted by that because it's a lot of positive, really positive energy, and it comes from all over, and it's very, very genuine. It feels wonderful. And this appreciation hasn't just come in the happy times. After a person with Tourette's syndrome shouted a racial slur as Lindo and Michael B. Gordon presented during the British Academy Film Awards ceremony, more support came his way, including a standing ovation while presenting an award at the NAACP Image Awards 6 days later. It's an honor to be here amongst our people this evening, amongst so many people who have shown us such incredible support, Lindo said on stage Saturday at the event. It's a classic case of something that could be very negative becoming very positive. Lindo took home the supporting actor trophy that night, ahead of the Academy Awards next Sunday. He's in the running for an Oscar. His Sinners performance in Blue Man Delta Sim in the category, also populated by Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another, plus Stellan Skarsgård for sentimental value. While the UK has been keen to claim him as a British Oscar nominee, the London-born actor sees his years growing up in America as the making of him. Special roots. Lindo is set to wear 3 hats, or a director, co-producer, and actor for a film set in Jamaica, where his mother was born. He said he plans to show a different side of the Caribbean island. They think about sea, sand, and sun, and that's wonderful. But I'm interested in this particular story, in sharing, and with audiences the spirituality that's in the land and in the people, explains Lindo. Unfinished barred business. I'd like to play Othello on film. I really would, says Lindo. He's portrayed Shakespeare's tragic hero twice on stage in the 1990s and still feels inspired to revisit the role. I remember cumulatively in the second time playing it, I developed such an appreciation for the material, for that man, and not to be able to delve into that again on film intrigues the hell out of me, he said. Things to do. 2 parades worth of St. Patrick's Day fun. Plantasia by Tony Roberto. How much does Buffalo love St. Patrick's Day? So much that we need 2 parades. Our celebration of our Irish heritage starts with the Old Neighborhood Parade in Hooley, think big party, in the Old First Ward at 11 a.m. Saturday. The parade begins at South Park Avenue and Elk Street, winding its way along Smith Street, Hamburg Street, and South Street before ending at Louisiana Street. A party with music and food follows from noon to 4 at the Valley Community Center, Lady Street. Since you'll be in the OFW, stop by any of the Irish bars all weekend for food and to raise spirit. A pint, including Gene McCarthy's Old First Ward Brewing Company on Hamburg Street, Adolph's Old First Ward Tavern, South Park Avenue, and Bailey Who, South Park Avenue. The big parade starts at 2 Sunday at Niagara Square, traveling along Delaware Ave to North Street. One spot to watch the parade is from outside Babeville, Delaware Avenue. Go inside the venue's 9th Ward from 1 to 5:30 for drinks and music by Folk Faces. Buffalo's Irish Center's St. Patrick's Weekend, Friday through Sunday at the BIC 245 Abbott Road. As expected, this Irish cultural hub is hosting a multitude of events throughout the weekend with music and dancing in the pub area and Emerald Room. Admission on Friday and Saturday is $10 for ages 18 and older. Friday, the pub has Sally and Tyler from 3 to 6 and Blarney Bunch from 6:30 to 10. The Emerald Room has Almost Seamus from 4 to 7, Rinkin Detarn and Dancers 7:05, and Creekwater from 7:30 to 10. Saturday, the pub has Kevin McCarthy from noon to 3, Irish Tweeds from 3:30 to 6:30, and Almost Seamus from 7 to 10. Emerald Room, Obraka Irish Band from 1 to 3, the Rinkin Detarn Dancers 3:05, Cody and Heron from 3:30 to 6:30, and the Mulligans from 7 to 10. Sunday, the pub features Jerry Dixon from noon to 3, Yellow Jack from 3:30 to 6:30, and 3 Parts Whiskey from 7 to 10. Emerald Room has Gavin's Rebel Banjo Band from 1 to 3, McCarthyism from 3:30 to 6, Rinka Deterrent Dancers at 5, Stone Circle from 7 to 10, and Harris Greco Dancers at 6:35. Irish Music Fest, 1 to 10:30 Saturday at Rusty Nickel Brewing Company and Ebenezer Ale House, Seneca Street, West Seneca. This day of outdoor Irish entertainment also has a heated tent to enjoy beer, seltzers, and more. Lancaster's St. Patrick's Day Parade and festivities 2 p.m. Saturday throughout Lancaster. Festivities are also taking place in Lancaster with a parade starting at 3 in the Save-A-Lot parking lot. It travels through the village with activities along Broadway, Central Avenue, and West Main. Afterward, there will be corned beef and cabbage at Scoob's Village Grill, Central Avenue, with DJ Carl from 2 to 6 and music by McCarthyism at 8 p.m. Other events. One of the good ones, screening at 11:30 Sunday at the North Park Theater, Hurdle Avenue. This legal drama was filmed here in 2025 with the talents of more than 80 local cast and crew members. It's based on the first book in the 4-part Lawyers Gone Bad series by local author Vincent Scarcella, who previously worked in the Attorney Grievance Committee in Buffalo. Scarcella co-wrote the screenplay with director Julia O'Hara about an attorney who thinks the death of a co-worker's husband may be murder. Dean Alessi stars. Plantasia, A World in Bloom, Thursday through Sunday at the Fairgrounds Event Center, South Park Avenue. This year's edition of Plantasia is set up with the colorful theme of World in Bloom as landscapers and designers create gardens to inspire you, even if you don't have a green thumb. The garden marketplace hosts more than 150 vendors, and there will be seminars on gardening and landscaping. The children's garden has hands-on activities for the young ones. Hours are 10 to 7 Thursday, 10 to 8 Friday and Saturday, and 10 to 5 Sunday. Quick calendar. Tchaikovsky meets Elfman, 2:30 today, Sunday, in Kleinans Music Hall. Danny Elfman will be in attendance with the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra. Gabrielle Rutledge, 7:30 Wednesday at Helium Comedy Club, Mississippi Street. Mamma Mania, the American tribute to ABBA, 7 p.m. Friday in the Town Ballroom, Main Street. Forever Seeger, the Silver Bullet Experience, 7:30 Friday and Saturday at the West Herd Riviera Theater. Wide Awake, the music of U2, 7 p.m. Friday at the Kaz, Seneca Street. Buffalo International Jewish Film Festival, opening film and reception at 6 p.m. Saturday, the Maxine and Robert Seller Theater, the Jewish Community Center, Benderson Family Building, North Forest Road. West Herd Riviera Theater, just announced. Practically Petty, September 18th. Resurrection, A Journey Tribute, September 25th and 26th. On sale now. The Celtic Tenors, March 16th. Upstage, March 22nd. Just Like Pink, March 28th. Strange Love, April 4th. Best Friends Girl, April 10th. The McCartney Experience, April 11th. Simply the Best, a tribute to Tina Turner, April 17th. John Wayne, April 25th. Love Sexy, a tribute to the music of Prince, May 8th. Rush Experience, May 15 and 16. Starry Starry Night, Dan McClellan, May 28th. And Bruce Hornsby and the Noisemakers, August 11th. Books. Applegate's unvarnished memoir leans into the darkness, by Mark Kennedy. Christina Applegate's memoir is not a safe, prim thing. It's raw and angry, lyrical and funny, and more than a bit dangerous, a lot like Christina Applegate. My words come out of my face whole the way they come out of my face whole, and that's just the way it goes, she tells the Associated Press. I can feel them coming out of my brain and I've stopped editing them. You with the Sad Eyes, a memoir, which was released Tuesday, charts the personal and career ups and downs of a veteran Hollywood comic actor with a rawness rarely found in today's memoirs. She writes of being abandoned by her father and growing up in an abusive household, of being the victim of domestic violence as an adult, motherhood, of surviving cancer, and now living with multiple sclerosis. I hate the word cathartic because it really wasn't, she says. I just puked it out, she said. It was like taking milk of magnesia for the soul. Applegate won an Emmy Award playing Rachel's narcissistic sister on Friends, earned a Tony Award nomination for Sweet Charity on Broadway, and received 4 Golden Globe nods. She was named the most beautiful person in the world by People magazine in 1929. But she writes that she has a lifelong struggle with body image and weight. I had no idea I was attracted to anyone. Truthfully, I've never known how to deal with the fact that I'm a successful person, and yet I hate myself. Applegate made a memorable show business debut, appearing in a 1972 episode of Days of Our Lives. At just 3 months old and already showing some range, she played a baby boy. The book charts her 3 big roles: the dim teenager Kelly Bundy on Unabashed Raunchy Married with Children, the confused career woman she played on Samantha Who, and her favorite part in the Netflix dark tragic comedy series Dead to Me. There were also terrifying years like the ones in which her stepfather was an abusive alcoholic and junkie who pulled her mother into addiction and poverty. She writes of once being elated simply to have hamburger buns with dinner. In looking back across my life, I realized that when good things happen to me, as many good things have, they are invariably stalked by darkness, dampened by subsequent tragedies and trauma. It is after going public with her MS diagnosis of 2021, Applegate has changed her approach, becoming very open about how difficult it's been living with the chronic disease. It has made her use diapers and scooch downstairs in her butt. My life has in some ways shrunk to the size of my California king. She created the Me Sassy podcast with Jamie Lynn Siegler to talk about living with the disorder and advising others. She keeps a hard copy of You with the Sad Eyes, a memoir, on her nightstand these days, proud of an unvarnished truth, but nervous nonetheless. It scares me. I have it next to my bed because I keep trying to go, "Why did you say that, dude? Why did you do that, dude? Come on, man," she says, but there it is. Books. Liza Minnelli. Liza and More. 5 new titles to put on your list this month. Liza Minnelli. Kid, wait till you hear this. Kids. Of course, there is an exclamation point at the end of the title of the vibrant EGOT winner's memoir. By Chris Hewitt. 5 new titles to put on your list this month. Here's a list of everything coming to libraries and bookstores in March. Dirt Spilling Superstar Memoirs, Showbiz Survivor Liza Minnelli has you covered. Bound to be best-selling thrillers. Tanya French is on it with the return of beloved character last seen in 2024 in The Hunter. There's also nonfiction, hopefully spine-tingling fiction, and a book for young folks on the way to the next few weeks. Kids, wait till you hear this by Liza Minnelli. Of course, there's an exclamation point at the end of the title. Details have been scant on the book, and is often the case with the blockbuster celebrity autobiographies, but you know the daughter of Judy Garland and director Vincent Minnelli, and the stars of the movies include Cabaret, Arthur, and the underrated New York, New York, has a ton of stories to tell. Minnelli's book promises that she's spilling the dirt on substance abuse, broken hearts, and artistic achievements that include conquering Hollywood, Broadway, and the concert stage. Out March 10th. The HOA by Tanya Smith. The author of an outrageous memoir, Never Saw Me Coming, about her youthful career in fraud, it's been announced as a movie, shifts to fiction with her second book, The HOA, is a paranoid thriller set in a community controlled by a powerful homeowners association. In the book, rules that initially seem to make sense gradually shift from fines for painting your house the wrong color to murder and blackmail. Out now. The Great Escape by Deborah Machero. Older siblings in particular may spark to Machero's inventive picture book about Evie, who tries to escape from her little brothers and sisters, only to discover they've escaped along with her. There's magic and imagination as the summons a world of fantastic adventure that may or not really exist. Out now. Making Mill City by Robert Frame III. Frame's heavily illustrated book takes readers back to roughly 1870 to 1920, when new technology made Minneapolis a huge supplier of flour. But Making Mill City is less interested in the big bucks people than the millers whose blood, sweat, and tears helped build the city. Out March 24th. The Keeper by Tanya French. The bestseller list perennial brings back Cal Hooper, the retired Chicago detective who cleared up the mysteries in French's The Searcher and The Hunter. Hooper may never get around to finishing the cottage he's been renovating, what with the murder of a young woman laying bare a feud that has divided generations. Out March 31st. Television. As brilliant as its namesake, Guy Ritchie's Young Sherlock series is a must-watch. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the March 8th issue of the Sunday Gusto. As brilliant as its namesake, Guy Ritchie's Young Sherlock series is a must-watch by Dominic Baez. If you are a work in progress, Sherlock Holmes is told late in Young Sherlock's Prime Video's new origin series about the world's greatest detective. And it's true. He's young, irreverent, self-assured to the point of arrogance, though to be fair, he'd be those latter descriptions no matter the age. Young Sherlock, though, is anything but a work in progress. Directed by Guy Ritchie, the 8-part series is, like its namesake, simply brilliant, a fusion of witty banter, clever humor, and punchy action that keeps you on the edge of your horse-drawn carriage seat from start to finish. Adapted from Andrew Lane's Young Sherlock Holmes book series, which itself is based on the works of Arthur Conan Doyle, Young Sherlock opens with a mystery, quickly followed by a prison yard fistfight featuring none other than one 19-year-old Sherlock, played by hero Fenn Tiffin. The blend of cerebral and physical, a repeating motif in Young Sherlock, is standard operating procedure for the hit or miss Ritchie, who also directed 2009's fantastic Sherlock Holmes and 2011's slightly overstuffed Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. But he doesn't miss here. In fact, Young Sherlock is in his best work in years. The series oozes with his signature style, from its blistering pacing and well-choreographed action sequences to its whip-smart humor and high regard for competence. It wouldn't hurt to brush up on your Shakespeare, Machiavelli, and Sun Tzu. But more than anything, it's just unadulterated fun. There are mysteries to solve, secret locations and passageways to discover, random stuff to blow up or set on fire, and it's all infused with infectious charm and heart. But back to those mysteries, the core of any good home story, and what a good one we have here. Set in 1870 Victorian England, there are murders of Oxford professors and a Chinese princess with secrets aplenty, and a talent for close quarters combat, and a mother distraught with grief sent away to an asylum who says they are listening to her every word. How do these all intersect, and more important, how does it all involve Sherlock? As the episodes progress, Ritchie and showrunner Matthew Parkhill weave a tale of intrigue that delights in surprising you. A perfect example, the portrayal of James Moriarty, a criminal mastermind long described as Holmes' arch-enemy. In Young Sherlock, James is just an Oxford student until his path crosses Sherlock's and the two become close friends. Played by a show-stealing Daniel Finn, James at first comes across as a more charming version of Sherlock, but he's so much more than he seems, and the interplay between him and Sherlock centered on morality, ethics, and whether the end justifies the means is the highlight of the show. That Tiffin and Finn share a crackling chemistry is just the cherry on the top. And Finn is the only well-cast actor. Isn't the only well-cast actor. Zin Shang gives a chameleon-like performance as Princess Gulan Showen, while Natasha McElhone will break your heart as Cordelia, Sherlock's mother. Max Irons is pitch perfect as Sherlock's older brother, Mycroft, and Colin Firth is clearly having a blast in the loathsome Bucephalus Hudge, one of Britain's richest men. And each and every one of these characters is dressed to the nines, rocking color-coordinated three-piece suits and stunning dresses, thanks to costume designer Janie Termine. All of that is set to a punk and rock-heavy soundtrack, played by Floggy Molly's Devil Dance Floor, maybe the best needle drop for a British fistfight ever, and Ritchie's typical cinematic flair. Expect plenty of stylish transitions and flourishes throughout, including my favorite, the visual representation of Sherlock's mental calculations. Early in Young Sherlock, there's a toast to Sherlock and his extraordinary future, how prescient it would become. On its own, the series is fantastic, must watch, but what a shame it would be if it didn't get more seasons, which the final episode sets up with. With Young Sherlock, the game is afoot, and here's hoping it continues to be. Young Sherlock streams on Prime Video. Taste. The Richardson's stately bar is back and open every day. By Francesca Bond. Maybe this is what happens when everyone at a bar wants to be there. On a recent late afternoons, as warm sunlight streamed through the tall, narrow windows, the Richardson Lounge patrons were practically effervescent. There were few of them. It's hard to know about this place. No one is at this bar out of habit. Some of them were throwing a retirement party for their colleague. They hadn't rented the place, but they may as well have, because they were the only guests there. On the second occasion, a couple visiting from the Finger Lakes, Kim and Rich Lewis, ordered drinks after receiving an impromptu tour of the building. Kim Lewis rose from her bar stool to point out the door hinges leading into the bar. They are stenciled to depict the Richardsons' distinctive towers. Lewis was told it was a speakeasy. I was told it's a lounge. It seems to be a little of both. The Richardson Hotel's new management, Colorado-based Greenwood Hospitality, quietly reopened the bar in the fall. There are no signs. The Forest Avenue entrance facing the Grand Lawn is locked. The only public entrance now is facing the back parking lot. Its name is simply the Restaurant and Lounge at the Richardson Hotel. The rewards for finding the bar are great. They include a quiet space that is more beautiful than ever, aesthetically warmer than its former iteration, but retaining the same illustrious home away from home look of a hotel bar. Scratch-made pizza dough, craft beer from 42 North, and a delightful bartender, or as her name tag says, beverage artisan, with an approximately architectural name, Beau Dispenza. You'd have to kind of know it's like here to know it's there, said Dispenza, who has previously worked at Aguacats on Elmwood and Don Tequila. Venezuelan chefs Carlo Aguilar and Jose Aparico are behind the pub-style menu, which includes oysters, a dozen for $25, pizza, salads, sandwiches, wings, chicken fingers. The compact wine list includes $8 to $11 glasses of wine and $7 to $8 cans of bottles of beer, with three $9 options from 42 North, including Asylum Porter created for the Richardson. Jim Burke, a general manager at the Richardson Hotel, said in a statement that the bar and lounge are at an exciting period of transformation. Our goal is to create a warm, inviting place where guests can enjoy a great drink and a bite in a setting that feels relaxed yet still special, Burke said. Kim Lewis hadn't known there was a bar in the Richardson. She had just wanted to see the building. Before retiring, Lewis worked as a mental health professional. The Richardson's past as an asylum intrigues her. This is going to sound corny, but it's like they are honoring what was, Lewis said. And yes, making something new of it, but they really have honored the past. The bar's high-ceilinged room used to be an office space for the asylum doctors long before the building was preserved and developed into a hotel. So these are the really pretty parts of it, Dispenza said. Lewis sees the hotel and bar as breaking through the bias that clings to mental health. Its past is appealing to Lewis. She doesn't seem to be the only one. We want to see a ghost, said another customer further down the bar, but so far nothing. The restaurant and lounge at the Richardson Hotel is open from 4 to 9 daily, 444 Forest Avenue. Restaurant news. News photojournalist Joel Vera and I spent nearly 18 hours behind the scenes at fine dining restaurant Oliver's. It was full of chefs and servers, cooks and back servers whose passion is evident in their work, and joy shines through in their jockey interactions with each other. Read my story and check out Vieira's photo gallery at thebuffalonews.com. Downtown Buffalo boutique liquor store Noble Roof Wine and Spirits closed. Downtown Buffalo foot traffic has continued to decline. Our building has deteriorated and the overall market for wine and spirits has become increasingly difficult, said owner Kyle McGinty. Papi Grandi's is moving its seasonal waterfront restaurant from Buffalo's Old First Ward to Tonawanda Park. We'll have games, we'll have Jenga, we'll have fire pits, we'll have some low-top seating so people can just sit around a fire a little later at dusk and enjoy the water, enjoy some tacos, and enjoy some margaritas, owner Jimmy Spano told the news reporter Steve Watson. Food events. The Roycroft Inn is hosting a spring awakening. The season, not the musical, wine pairing dinner at 6 p.m. Wednesday at Seneca Hose Company, 2801 Seneca Street. Attendees vote for their favorite soups and chilies. There will also be raffles and contests. Tickets are $10 in advance, $15 at the door. Food. Lunch bunch. Rotisserie chicken meets grapes. Pictures. Pecans in a crisp romaine wrap. Lunch Brunch by Lauren Chambers. I make these wraps most weekdays for lunch as they're easy, tasty, and packed with protein. They're also loaded with fresh raw fruits and vegetables. While I mostly opt for the lettuce wrap route, the salad also works well as a spread for gluten-free crackers or a sandwich filling with toasted gluten-free bread. Super easy chopped chicken salad lettuce wraps. 2 cups of cooked shredded cubed chicken breast. Can use a rotisserie chicken for convenience. 2 small celery ribs diced. Half a cup of grapes rinsed and quartered. 1/4 of a cup of pecans chopped. 1 green onion diced. 2 tablespoons finely chopped parsley. 1 tablespoon finely chopped fresh chives. 1 tablespoon of freshly chopped dill or tarragon. Half a cup of avocado oil, mayonnaise, or full-fat unsweetened Greek yogurt. Juice of 1 small lemon. 1 teaspoon Dijon mustard. 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, black pepper to taste. 6 large romaine lettuce leaves rinsed and patted dry. In a small bowl, combine the chicken, celery, grapes, pecans, onions, chives, dill, tarragon. Add the mayo, mustard, salt, and pepper in the bowl and stir to well. Spoon the mixture onto the center of the romaine leaves and enjoy. Cooking with cottage cheese. 3 tasty ways to add a dollop of extra protein to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Cottage cheese pancakes. There's a lot to love about this wholesome, family-friendly breakfast that's as quick and easy to pull off as it's satisfying. These high-protein, low-fat cottage cheese pancakes are made with just a few simple ingredients. Cook up fluffy and actually taste good. If it sounds too good to be true, I assure you it's not. The crisp edges, soft, tender center, and wholesome, subtle, sweet flavor make them worth waking up 15 minutes earlier on a weekday to whip up a batch. Enjoy them with a drizzle of maple syrup. Switch it up with a dollop of fruit jam or go for another boost of protein. 1/2 cup of old-fashioned oats. 1/2 cup of cottage cheese. 2 large eggs. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. 1/8 teaspoon of kosher salt. Maple syrup, jam, or berries. Place oats, cottage cheese, eggs, and salt in a blender and process on high speed until well combined, about 30 seconds. Heat a large skillet, frying pan over medium heat. Working in batches, add the batter in 2 tablespoon portions, spacing them evenly apart. Cook until the pancakes are set around the edges and deep and golden brown on the bottom. Repeat cooking time in batter. Leftovers can be refrigerated in an airtight container up to 5 days. High-protein tomato soup. Few things are more comforting to me than a warm bowl of soup. Creamy tomato soup is a classic, and when you pair it with the grilled cheese, it's like a hug and a meal. When I don't want to turn to a canned option, a recipe I found on TikTok. This quick and easy soup recipe requires just 3 ingredients. 1 cup of marinara sauce, 1 cup of cottage cheese, and 1 cup of broth. To make, simply add the ingredients to a blender and blitz them together until smooth. Then pour the mixture into a saucepan and heat it over medium heat 5 to 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. Finally, pour the soup into a bowl and serve it with whatever you like. A few more tips. Making the soup couldn't be easier. An honest review. In fact, it took me about 10 minutes from start to finish. Visually, it looked and smelled good, though I did notice the oil from the sauce pooling at the top. The soup has a good, rich flavor, thanks to the ingredients in the sauce: Italian peeled tomatoes, cream. Cottage cheese twice-baked potato. When I came across this twice-baked potato recipe by content creator Graceless, who also is the kitchen's former deputy food editor, that's stuffed with cottage cheese and inspired by Martha Stewart's baked potatoes, I was instantly curious. She touted them as being perfectly fluffy, so naturally I had to try out the recipe. Recipe starts with Martha Stewart's baked potato cooking method. First, bake a couple of Yukon Gold potatoes, or as many as you'd like to make, and bake directly on the oven rack for 325 for 90 minutes. Once the potatoes are done cooking, split them down the middle and mash the inside of the potato with a fork to be sure to leave the skin intact. To each potato, add a spoonful of cottage cheese, a sprinkle of cheddar cheese, some chopped chives, and pepper to taste. Mix it together and push back into the potato skin so everything is compact. Finally, sprinkle more cheddar on top and bake for another 20 minutes. Top with chives and enjoy. An honest review. The interior is super fluffy, and the cottage cheese and cheddar cheese add a delicious salty bite that, when combined with chive, results in a sour cream and onion vibe. The potato skin on the outside provides a slightly crispy chew. If you're not the biggest fan of cottage cheese, which I'm not, you can't really tell aside from the visual look. Its texture is masked by the light and fluffy potato interior. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the March 8th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Your reader has been Michelle. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the front section of the Sunday Times. At 2 o'clock, we have the New York Times Opinion section. And at 3 o'clock, we have the New York Times Arts and Leisure section. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading